Welcome back to episode 21 of Sidelined with Jonny and Noah. I am Jonny.
And I'm Noah. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Pro Bowl, and then we'll be naming our final position players, top three for each position for the year. So let's jump right into the Pro Bowl. It is on February 6th at 3 p.m. at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Jonny, what's going on at the Pro Bowl?
The Pro Bowl, they're going to be trying to do some new rules to test them out, and you'll see them right here. There should be, I think, 3 new rules. So that's really it. A lot of replacements and due to injury and stuff like that. And people said no, which was surprising. So
yeah, Josh Allen actually declined. He was one of the main guys. I mean, it's what happens. Kind of just happens sometimes. Sometimes it's injuries. Sometimes you just don't feel like putting on them cleats.
Okay, now with our top 3 quarterbacks, who do we have?
Well, for me, I'm starting off with obviously the MVP of the league. Probably going to go back-to-back Aaron Rodgers. He just simply had the best year. At number 2, I have Tom Brady. And at number 3, I have a surprising one for some of you. But if I tell you what I did to formulate this list, you'll mostly agree. I'm going to put Justin Herbert at 3. He looked pretty good. And if you go to QBR, that's actually in order the top 3 quarterbacks. And obviously QBR is not the only stat, but I just think those are the 3 best quarterbacks this year that looked the best in the amount of games that they played. And I know Herbert didn't make the playoffs, but he put his best foot forward. So
he's
what about
similar
you?
to Rivers in that aspect.
Who's your? Yeah, true.
My top 3, I have Aaron Rodgers at 1, Brady at 2, and then I have Josh Allen at 3.
Well, Josh Allen did.
He had an unreal season.
He turned hot, and then in the postseason he played amazing. It's
even
just
better. So
unlucky draw in the OT, but jumping into running backs, who you got?
Running backs, we have kind of a similar list.
Yeah.
I have Jonathan Taylor at number 1, undisputed.
Oh yeah, I mean,
without
he
a doubt,
just
number
clearly
1.
had the best.
Number 2, I have Nicholas Chubb, and then at 3, I have Mixon. Joe Mixon, what a bounce back year for him.
Oh yeah.
After being injured, and he actually stayed healthy this year, so that was good for him.
Yeah, and you were rooting for him the whole time, it seems like. I have a similar top 2. I have Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, and then I have Austin Eckler. Now, what I'm going to say is me and Jonny both were hesitant on Nick Chubb just because, obviously there's some running backs that have better receiving stats, a.k.a. Eckler and Mixon, which we included. But we looked at the amount of times that Chubb was fed the ball, how many games he played, and his yards per carry. And he led the league in yards per carry with 100 less carries than Jonathan Taylor, and he led the league in yards per carry.
His ratio is unreal.
So yeah, we had to put him in. I was thinking of also putting in Henry, but too many missed games, obviously, to small sample size.
Yeah. All right, and then our receivers. Who are your top 3?
Well, you got it for this year. Like we said before anyone, gets on the comment section or tries to get on us, it's for this year alone. Cooper Kupp had one of the more historic years
ever.
And the thing is, he was first in yards after catch. So it's not like it was just Stafford's just chucking him the deep ball the whole time. And I know people are going to be using the slot boy, reference.
But I mean, if it works, it works, right?
It works, but
he was the best.
My number 2 guy, Devonte Adams, also worked from the slot a lot during this year as well. Obviously, Devonte Adams is the best receiver in this league, but according to this season, obviously Cooper Kupp by far had the best season out of all of them statistically. Adams is obviously, you can't guard Adams. You double team him in some games, but And then at number 3, the versatile weapon, Deebo Samuel, running back, receiver. I think if he stayed healthy throughout the whole year, he probably would have been the best receiver this year.
Very possible.
Rushing and receiving, he was the Cordell Patterson on crack, I guess you could say. Because
him and Deebo. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But Deebo and Kupp, they had over 2,000 yards all-purpose.
Yeah, I mean that's insane.
So
who do you got?
Who
are you
Number
guys?
1, I have Adams. I just feel like he can't be guarded. He is the best. Without a doubt.
He was doubled a lot. Yeah.
And I don't think Kupp's was a fluke. I don't have him at number 2. I have Jettas at number 2. I think his season was unreal.
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
When he was just him on the field, he proved that he was the alpha.
No, yeah, definitely.
Thielen was hurt a lot this year, so he stepped in well. And then number 3, I have Cooper Kupp. Unreal season. I think he's really talented, but he also is going up against
product of the offense and the people he goes up against.
So nothing against him.
No,
I think
definitely.
he was the best receiver in the game, but at the same time, I don't know. These guys just feel better to me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what about your tight ends? Who are your top 3?
Tight ends. I have number 1. I have Kelsey. I just think he's the best in the game for the last few years.
Yeah, of course.
Behind him, Andrews. He had an unreal season.
Oh,
really
unbelievable.
Better than anyone else.
Statistically better than anyone, yeah.
Yeah. And then behind him, I have Kittle. Kittle was hurt for a lot of the year, and I think wasn't super productive in certain games, but he still had over 900 yards.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
was really
he was
surprising
playing
'cause I
amazing.
didn't think he would have that many yards.
I know. When I saw that stat in the playoffs, I was like, wow, really? I thought
Yeah.
he missed too many games for that. But
Exactly. That's what I thought, too. But
And
he did well.
Me and you have the same exact list. I do have Kelsey at 1. I know some people at home, I know some friends of mine are going to be talking about that, but me and Jonny did the research.
Yeah.
When you talk about some of these players, Mark Andrews is great, but he had less yards after catch. I think his win percentage against like double teams was lower than Kelsey. He had way more targets. He also played more games. And by way more, I mean around 20 something.
Yeah.
But Kelsey's number 1. Obviously less productive than his normal year, but that's for his standard. For the tight end standard, I still think he had the best year out of all the tight ends. Mark Andrews played really great, but he was also like the only weapon on that team. So, of course, he's going to play really great.
Exactly.
He got more targets.
The only argument I feel like you can make for Andrews not being number 1, or actually the argument you could make is he dealt with Huntley for the last quarter of the season.
Yeah, Huntley
and he
did
still
ball
played
out.
really
Yeah.
well. So.
And he had more yards by I think 400 maybe or
so we
something
dealt
like
with
that.
the backup. I mean, I can understand the argument. So.
There's a lot of research. They're kind of like 1A, 1B at this point for this year, but obviously when we come out with our player rankings for the next season, it's going to be different.
Exactly.
Now let's jump into edge rusher. Who you got?
Edge rusher was pretty easy, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of can just look at
the 3
stats.
sack leaders.
Yeah, you can just look at stats.
The pressure and the QB hits, it was all there. You could tell Watt is number 1, the best sack season since Michael Strahan. So that was really obvious number 1. Garrett, number 2. They are the 2 best edge rushers in the game. There's no question about it. And then number 3, kind of a surprise, I had Robert Quinn.
Well, he jumped into Chicago and he played really well.
So good, and I have to credit him. I was thinking about putting Bosa, like we talked about, but at the same time, Quinn had 3.5 more sacks. So and more pressure. So I just feel like he's definitely the guy to go with. So.
Well, that's going to be the difference in our list. I have Watt. Obviously, he had the better season out of him and Michael Strahan because he had 22.5 sacks, missed two games.
Yeah.
If we're comparing to Michael Strahan, he missed 1 game over Strahan. And Strahan was also given the record with Brett Favre falling. Just saying.
I guess.
But he had a great season. He's number 1. Myles Garrett, number 2, obviously. They're probably going to go to battle in that division for years. It's going to be exciting to see. And I have Bosa at 3. He came off with torn ACL. He had maybe 3 less sacks than Quinn, but he also did the same amount of forced fumbles, 4 more tackles for loss, and I think the QB pressures was outrageous. He also tied TJ Watt with the league most 21 tackles for loss. So I got to give him the nod at 3.
Okay. Interesting. And then jumping into linebackers.
Well, Micah Parsons had simply the best year out of all the linebackers. I mean, he rushed the passer. He had 10-plus sacks. I mean, that's unbelievable for a guy who is supposed to be kind of just a tackle, middle linebacker, a field general type, for the defense. And he ended up getting 10 sacks, and he had a couple tackles for loss. He had a couple picks. I mean, he was all around the field, and he was number 1 for me. That brings me to my next guy, Fred Warner. Amazing. I mean, Fred Warner and Bobby Wagner. Those are my 2 and 3. They kind of have been there. It's been there, done that kind of thing. And then at number 4, honorable mention, Roquan Smith.
Yeah,
watch out for him. He looks pretty great. He was 5th in tackles, 4th in tackles, and he's been pretty good all around the ball.
Yeah. My number 1, I have Bobby Wagner. Although his teammate Brooks had more tackles by I think almost 30, I just feel like Bobby Wagner is a more sound player.
Yeah.
So I had him
Wagner
number
was
1.
Great, yeah.
Number 2, I have Fred Warner. He is unreal, and he's such a rising superstar on that team and the defense. And then number 3, I had Micah Parsons. I mean, Micah Parsons was unbelievable.
He was crazy. I mean, from a Giants fan perspective, you had to have been horrified to play him.
So.
All right, jumping into cornerbacks, who you got?
Cornerbacks, undisputed. Jalen Ramsey, the best in the game, without a question. Number 2, AJ Terrell. He had one of the best seasons, and he did not get recognized for it at all.
Not even a Pro Bowl nod, no.
No, nothing. And he was completely shut down. So he's my number 2 guy. And then number 3, J.C. Jackson. 8 interceptions, looked phenomenal being the lone starter with Stephon Gilmore gone. And he looked so good. So number 3.
Yeah, me and your list is pretty similar. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey, number 1. Although he got burned by Mike Evans last game.
Brady's last touchdown.
Yeah, 2 games ago, actually. Time flies.
Yeah.
But I have my number 1. J.C. Jackson, I have at 2 for the sole reason that obviously he had more picks than Terrell, and his pass selections, he led the league in pass selections. So I have him at 2. And then Terrell, I have at 3. I couldn't leave him out because we're basing it off of this year alone. If I was basing it off, he's a second-year player, so I can't really base it off anything else.
Last year he looked not great.
Yeah,
so.
he looked pretty below average, but
Yeah.
he stepped it up. He had a great season, so I have him at my number 3 corner for this year. And finally, we have our safeties.
Safeties, for free safety and strong safety. Number 1, I have Hyde. I feel like he had an unreal season, and he just looked phenomenal. Him and his other safety, Jordan Poyer, they both look phenomenal, but I think Hyde just played a little bit better in my eyes. And number 2, I have Tyrann Mathieu. We saw what it looked like with him not being in the game. They got torched over the top in the middle, and you could tell he needs to be on that defense.
Oh, yeah,
so
he was
he's
great.
my number 2. And number 3, I have Simmons. Justin Simmons was phenomenal for Denver, and he's a rising superstar. He's going to do so well with them.
Oh, yeah, he's unbelievable. I mean, I'm just goes back to seeing, like, that interception that he made on the sideline. I think when the Demaryius Thomas day, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think hopefully I got that right. My top list, I'm going to do actually a little switch up. On the script, it says I have Micah Hyde at 1 and Poyer at 2. I'm actually going to flip it.
Okay.
I'm going to have Poyer at 1 and Hyde at 2, and then Simmons at 3. Top 2 safeties. They also led the league in interceptions. They were top 5. They were just an unbelievable duo, and they're building off of each other. It's not really a normal thing seeing 2 safeties on the same team, top 5 in interceptions. They were locked down, and that's why Buffalo's defense was one of the best in the league, and especially their secondary. With Trey White stepping out, they needed to step up, and they did. Those are my top 3 for the safeties, and that wraps up our top 3 from this season.
Alone. Yeah. In the offseason, we'll get to our overall. I think some will definitely change.
A lot of changes, certainly, yeah.
Without a doubt. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. Hopefully you guys enjoy this kind of content. I know it's a little bit different than what we're normally doing.
Yep, and it's hopefully you guys enjoy the Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
if you're watching, if you're tuning in, enjoy the Pro Bowl.
I mean, it's not super great.
Yeah,
so.
But whatever happens. And hope you guys jump in and watch our episode, our Super Bowl preview. That's gonna be exciting. We have some good stuff planned. We're gonna bring back some segments just to go over the year and get it hyped up for that Super Bowl to be a big game. Maybe we'll make breaks into 2 parts. Who knows? We'll see. Stay tuned.
Yeah.